And they used to call me the faggot fairy, even though her friend was very feminine. So I was like, it's give a projection, baby girl.
No,
it's give a projection.
And that's what a lot of people do when they're younger. They try to project that and try to hate that.
Because he was gay as day.
Gay as day.
Gay as day.
Buckle up and get ready to travel through the cosmos of your mind. Unwind and let your ears take you on a journey through time. Every week, we discuss topics ranging from space exploration to the fall of celebrity culture. We look through the lens of our past, present, and future to decide if we should update or delete this from reality. My name is George Barrios, and my name is Nafsir Markham, and get ready to... The perspectives conveyed in this episode as in all installments of Experience Reality consist solely of the subjective opinions of the host and reference allegations. The content presented should not be referenced as irrefutable fact. This podcast is intended for purely entertainment purposes only.
You guys welcome to Gay Day.
Gay Day.
Okay.
No? Oh, she's gonna come from me. She's like, Nogan. She said, that's Nogan girl.
Maybe if you just didn't look like a caricature of a gay person trying to do Vogue.
I look like a caricature?
That's what you look like to me. Like anytime like people like do that, like it gives me just like I'm mocking the what's it called? The ballroom scene. You know what I mean?
I see it. For me, it's more like I know I can't do it like actually good, so I have to do it like a little comedically. You know?
Yeah. Same thing with a bunch of the twink white people too.
I would have to be like a comedy queen. I wouldn't be able to be like fierce right away.
Mama, you hungry, mama?
Yeah. Well, you guys, welcome to another episode here on Experience of Reality. Today's episode, we are talking about gays, fagatrons.
Yes.
The
maricones.
Yeah,
Maricas.
Whatever that is.
Fresas. These are the Spanish like words.
Yeah. You know, the creepy crawlers that are going to come in your house, take your kids, take your wives, and, you know, all of every in between.
According to America.
Yeah, exactly. Which our last episode was America. So if you have not gone to check that out, go check that out and get our perspective of what we feel about America. Because it's not all good, but it's all not bad. You know what I mean? I feel like America right now is definitely getting hard wrapped, as you should.
Yeah.
But it's not all so bad.
No, it's not all bad. I mean, we talked about it more in our last episode. Just with everything, there's positives, there's negatives, there's good and bad. It's all duality. Let's just say that. I don't know. I feel like, the whole reason why we're together is because of this topic, is because we were able to come to understand ourselves. By a certain point, we met each other. We've been kind of inseparable since. And it's like without accepting and learning about ourselves to come to accept that this is something that like is good for us and it's positive, and like expressing ourselves in this way, regardless of the world tells us, is what we need to do. Yeah. You know what I mean?
We'll kind of get into that throughout the episode, but let's get started with the definition, because we always get our episodes started with the definition of what we're talking about for that day. So give us the dictionary definition.
Of course. So the Google definition is
sexually or romantically attracted to people of one's own sex, use especially of a man. The city's gay and lesbian people, a gay couple, my gay friend. Yeah, and then the dated definition is...
Wait, so is that the definition for gayness?
Gay.
Gay, okay.
The Urban Dictionary is...
merry, airy, jovial, supportive, frolicsome. It donates more life and animation than cheerful. Belinda smiled, and all the world was gay.
I didn't identify with any of that. But these is like, we have an audience today. We have two crows. Are those crows?
I think those might be ravens.
Oh, ravens. Even better, raven. The drag queen. But they're like literally right here.
Girl, we always have some type of animal watching us making noise in these videos. Last time it was the dogs. Now we got the crows.
Yeah. Was it the dogs last episode?
Yeah, they were watching us.
Yeah. The dogs were watching. There was like two that was sitting there watching us. Totally forgot about that. But you guys, it is blazing hot out here, as most of our episodes here in Mexico probably will be. So you're going to see me pat my face all throughout. I'm Greasiana. It's on the back of your chair. Yeah. But I'm Greasiana.
But back to definition before I forget. I just think it's really interesting how the Google definition was immediately like talking about like gay people as we come to it now. But then when you go on Urban Dictionary, like the first like 3-4 entries are all like the old definition of gay.
Really?
Which is like, why?
What is the old definition?
Like jovial, lighthearted. The second one that I said for the Google, it's like it just means like happy in a way.
Yeah.
So it's like very interesting that the website or the platform that is based on the people has that as the first definition, and it's a little telling. And we'll talk more about like
how do you think it's telling now?
Well, I think it's telling of the times now. I feel like because it shows that there are a lot of people now that are being misinformed, and I feel like Urban Dictionary is especially ran by the United States, and like there's this turn in the United States right now of people kind of backtracking. Or I feel like we're going back a little bit when it comes to gay rights. Like I see people that are like college age saying very ignorant shit, or just like being very misinformed about what being gay is, and just treating it like how people treated it like fucking 40 years ago. Yeah. And it's just a 20-year-old white dude in college.
That's suspicious.
Which, in particularly, I don't know if I would agree with like people are now acting more different than what they were before. I think it's just a little bit. I really think it's the same. Yeah. To be honest, like I've gotten called gay back then, and I've gotten called gay now. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think now what's different is that there's a vast amount of people that are more accepting of themselves and accepting of what it is to be gay. Yeah. You know what I mean? But to start off with what we thought of being gay was before. So like in our past, in our childhood, and how we grew up. Because I know for me, I was living my Hannah Montana fantasy growing up. But when it comes to our past perspectives, before we had the language or the community, how did queerness first show up in our lives? Not just as identity, but as feelings. So I know for me, and we'll kind of get into that, but I want to ask you, how did that show up within your life?
I think that's a really good way to word the question, because that is how gayness was for me as a kid. It was more of an emotion, and I didn't identify it at the time, but I can now look back at it and see that there was gayness in my life. It was just personal to me. Where that be like my attraction.
I think that's kind of everybody.
Yeah. Well, some people. Well, nowadays,
I think gayness is a personal experience to yourself, and I mean, your guys I see throughout this episode too, how my gayness and your gayness are two different things, and we've had totally two different fucking experiences when it comes to being gay.
Yeah, and I'm also like I didn't really express it outwardly to other people, but there was like an internal world of gayness for me where I like felt like when I was alone, I could fully express myself and not like have to watch how I moved, not watch how I speak. I could play with whatever toys I wanted. Like, for example, I used to play with my sister's Barbies.
Who the fuck are you?
Who the fuck are you?
I asked you first.
I asked you second.
I used to have those little plastic heels. You remember the clack, 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 clack? Yeah. I used to have those clack, 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 clacking up and down the hill at my grandpa's house when I was like 3. Yeah. So it was just those type of things that I'm like, it's in us. It's not something we become. It was something that I always was. There was no outside influence for me being like this.
Which I fully agree with that aspect, because I kind of always felt being gay before I actually knew what being gay was. And I had people that would call me gay, call me a faggot, all of the things before I actually understood
you are gay.
That it was in connection to my sexual orientation. It had to everybody else, their perspective was based on, like you were saying, how I moved, how I act, how I spoke, versus the actual sexual orientation of what being gay is. That being the feeling. And then that feeling then essentially manifesting into the physical, you know what I mean? And the changing of your reality, and that being with a partner, or, you know, going to a gay bar, going to a gay club, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I know for me, like I was saying, I lived a Hannah Montana life, a Hannah Montana fantasy, but also growing up, I had kind of gay influences, but that was before. I mean, that was after I already had that feeling. So it wasn't like anybody necessarily made me gay.
And I agree with you in that these people, role models is what they are, that we saw in our...
I wouldn't say role models because everybody, just because somebody is an elder to you or somebody's older than you or they're doing something that you wanted, I wouldn't necessarily consider that a role model because I wouldn't consider my cousin a role model, and he was one of the gay people that I've known. Same thing with my mom's best friend. Like, I mean, he was gay, but I didn't consider him a role model in my life by any means.
I guess I was talking more so about like representation. Because I think when people talk about that, they're not talking about your cousin, or they're talking more so about like people that are given a platform. They're saying that those people are the ones that are spreading the gay agenda. Really? So I'm talking about the people that we saw on TV that were gay or queer or lesbian, whatever they identify as. Yeah. They were just in a confirmation that there were successful people out there that lived like us, or that had like a similar experience to us. It was like there's living people out there successful. Yeah. Exactly. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think that's very important, especially like now, because we've existed forever. Yeah. And we are born this way. Lady Gaga, baby, we were born this way. But anyway.
No, I definitely think that we were born that way, but also I think some people weren't. And I think that's where kind of people get it fucked up. It's because it doesn't have to be one or the other. Literally two things could be the same at one. I mean, right at one time. That's true. And I think for me, it was always a feeling at such a young age and a desire, a movement, a lifestyle, whatever. Like you were saying with playing with Barbies. Like, I'm the oldest of 5 sisters. So I used to play with Shania's Barbies. I used to actually dress Shania for school. You know what I mean? Like, most of the time, Shania would go downstairs, which is my sister, by the way. She would go downstairs because my mom would have to approve our outfits every day. I would go down. She'd be like, yeah, you're good. And then every day that Shania would go down, she would be like, no, go back up there and change your clothes. But anytime I picked her clothes, immediately she's like,
you're perfect, you're beautiful, you look like Linda Evangelista, you're a model. Everything about you is perfect. Did you stone those tights? Oh, you're smiling. They eat her up every single time.
Yeah, you're fine. You're good. Yeah. So it's just like these kind of queer, gayish, faggotry kind of things that I was doing at such a young age before I actually even knew what that was.
So do you think those are characteristics of being gay, or were more so in the past characteristics of being gay? Like, I think being good at fashion and all that?
Yeah, I think a lot of people connected that to being gay, but now being an adult and being more consciously aware of just people, society, being out in the world, seeing different types of cultures and different types of people, I don't think that feminine traits or feminine things necessarily equate to being gay. Exactly. And I think that's where kind of the ignorance of people is. And I mean, quite frankly, as a kid, I was also ignorant to that as well, because I didn't really experience the world in its entirety. And all I was hearing was like, you're gay because of the way that you speak. You're gay because of the way that you walk. You're gay because of the way that you dress. When those really have nothing to do with me being gay. But now knowing they're making that connection because queer culture embodies a lot of all of those things, but it's not exclusive to just queer culture necessarily.
And that's why they made the term metrosexual back in like 2010, because these straight men were like, we want to look good too, we want to be good at
fashion. They were still a little gay, but talk.
Exactly. And talking about that, I think back in the day, the reason why that was like the stereotype was a very feminine, good at fashion, drag queen.
That's sweet as St. Lucia.
It was a way to create an archetype that was like digestible for people. Like that stereotype of being gay is fun, and you know what I mean. Like it's marketable.
Well, I mean, it's not even type of being gay because they weren't even classifying it as being gay. So they were still saying being gay is wrong, but you can act like this, do this, but don't you dare sleep with a man, or don't you dare.
Are you talking about like after the term metrosexual became a thing?
Yeah. But when it comes to like being gay as a kid, when did you actually realize and recognize that you were gay?
I definitely knew since I was very young, but growing up Catholic and also going to a non-denominational Christian church eventually, I felt that it was something that I could take control over and kind of like get over. Like it was a hump that I could go over, that I would eventually go away if I like just ignored it and kind of went the other way.
I there was a time that I kind of felt that too. I was like, maybe if I watch a little straight, then I'll be, then I might, no longer be a. It didn't work out too much. I was looking at the.
You're counting it. It's like, it's been a week.
Yeah.
I think I'm getting straighter.
Yeah, and I'm like, no,
broke your streak.
No.
I think people used to look at things so black and white that they thought that if you were like gay, you had to be a certain way, or you like certain things or didn't like certain things.
Yeah.
And that's just how the world used to be, so black and white. And I feel like now we're getting more into a world of duality, a spectrum, and also like evolution. Like, you can let yourself change your mind later. Maybe you are going through a phase that you feel you're attracted to more men, and maybe it goes away and then you are attracted to women. You know what I mean? And I feel like that is maybe what has changed, is that people are now giving themselves the space to change and evolve.
Yeah.
Because people are less religious and less spiritual. And I feel like religion was about conserving the same values all the time, the same like habits, the same
because
traditions.
it's easier to be able to control.
Exactly.
And I mean, with religion, like, I had 3 different religions like around me, like growing up. My grandfather was a bishop, a pastor, and a Christian pastor and Christian bishop, and where my dad's Muslim, and then my stepmom and her family are Jehovah's Witness. So I have 3 different types of influences of religion, but seeing how all those different people in my lives still loved each other, worked together, listened to one another, coexisted, all of those things. Yeah. It made me realize and be able to help me realize that, like, religion isn't like, I don't need to necessarily be bounded to a religion. I need to be bounded to a belief system. And what I believe to be good for me in the greater good of people. Yeah. And I don't feel like religion necessarily always displays that or expresses that. Yeah. So it's not bad to have a belief system, but it's just more of like bad to have a belief system that's just bounded to one thing and it doesn't evolve or change or is really specific to you all the time either.
Or that claims to be the one and only correct religious system.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the problem. And I mean, there's places in the world where people from different religions live peacefully because there is an equal distribution of respect from the government, versus there's some countries like the United States that tries to be this Christian country where that's not what it is. I feel like most people are Christian in the United States to a certain extent, but there's so many different religions in the United States that are practiced. Yeah. You know what I mean? I agree, and it's like, you can't claim that this land is the land of a Christian God when the people are not that.
And all the people that live here are of different religions, different types, and which we'll definitely get a religion episode going, because I feel like we could definitely dive so deep into religion. But with the belief system of religion being so prominent within my life, it has made me like fearful to be gay. It has made me fearful to want to express myself outwardly. Yeah. Because back then, my dad used to give me a lot of negativity. Like, if you end up being gay, I'm a... Granted, him and I have a way better relationship now. And, you've been able to meet him. You've stayed at my childhood house. Yeah. You've seen all of my childhood homes, basically, at this point. Oh, yeah. We've had dinner with my dad. You stayed the night at the house. They just came here to Mexico to visit us. And we, had dinner, visited them at the hotel. So things could change. Yeah. Your belief system can change. And I'm seeing it in real time when it comes to my family, and the healing that I've been able to do and they've been able to do by evolving their mind. And that's kind of the point of this podcast too, is to evolve your mind. And you don't have to stay stagnant. Exactly. You're choosing to stay stagnant.
Yeah. And also, you can stay stagnant, but the world is going to change and you're going to stay behind.
Exactly.
And also, the world comes in cycles. So we might take a few steps back, but like, be careful with the way that you treat the people around you, because those steps are going to be taken again, and we're going to be so many steps ahead in a little bit. So it's like, remember that while we have some people that come out and try to act like we're groomers and our lifestyle is an abomination, blah, 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 know that that is just temporary. Yeah. And you're going to look stupid and feel stupid if you treat the people around you a certain way.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And like growing up, like I was saying earlier, I was living a Hannah Montana life. I was living a Hannah Montana life because I was kind of out at school, but I wasn't at home. Especially after like sophomore year of high school.
Yeah.
I was out and about.
Yeah.
But when I lived in Philly, that's when I got the most bullying for like being gay. When I lived in Philly, and then a little bit of when I moved to Georgia, because I moved to Georgia for a year before I ended up moving to Delaware. And me seeing the type of person that I was in those spaces, I was like, when I moved to Delaware, no bitch is gonna fuck with me. No bitch. Because when I moved to Delaware is where I really set into a different level of respect or authority that I was demanding people to give me because of all the bullying that I received when I was in Philly in Georgia. Shit, there was a time where a bunch of people fucking spit on me. That's a whole different.
Horrible.
Yeah, and I accidentally I don't know. We were like in the recess yard, and they were like spit, and I thought they meant like spit, like as in like actually spit. And then I did, and then they actually meant rap, and then everybody just like spit on me. It was horrible. And then also I got spit on by this one girl in Georgia, and they used to call me the fairy, even though her friend was very feminine. So I was like, it's give a projection, baby girl.
No,
it's give a projection.
And that's what a lot of people do when they're younger. They try to project that and try to hate that.
Because he was gay as day.
Gay as day.
Gay as day.
Gay as day. It's, and it's I feel like we've been gay now for a while. You longer than me, but I feel like I've been out for a while now. And it's like, when you're out, you see it in other people. Yeah. Like, people don't have to say anything. And I'm like, oh, I see.
I had a best friend growing up that he was a denier for a while. Solo. Basically all throughout high school. And he was still dating girls. Like, I mean, I dated girls up until sophomore year of high school, too. But sophomore year was when it was done. Which, that was messy. It was real messy when it came to my sexuality my sophomore year. Because, so me, my best friend, my other best friend, and my girlfriend all went to the same therapist.
That's illegal.
Well, it was like the therapist of the school, like in our wellness center. And she then ended up making my two best friends tell my girlfriend at that time that they knew I was gay. Which I don't know what the fucking objective of that was, but it created chaos all sophomore year. She was threatening to go tell my dad. She was trying to blame her shitty grades on me being gay. And I'm like, girl, you had shitty grades before you knew I was gay. Now, come on now. Yes.
She's like, I'm in turmoil.
Yes.
You ruined my life.
Emotionally distraught. Bitch.
Is this the one that ended up being a lesbian?
No.
Okay,
That's a different one.
Bitch, you're projecting now.
No, that was a different one. But I was on and off with her all throughout high school, middle school, and a little bit in high school. But when we was in middle school, I remember somebody was like, "You only like her because she looked like a man."
I did not have to say that.
Yes.
It's the Northeast, so.
Yes. Oh my God. And now she's a lesbian. Now she's a lesbian. Hey, Ashley.
Hey, Ashley.
But it was hilarious.
That is messy. Like, I literally feel like that is the worst. She was like, I'm gonna stir it the
She was like, I'm gonna stir it. I'm bored. Literally. No, for real.
These other clients boring as
fuck. I mean, she also helped me out a lot too, because she was also the reason why I told my parents that I was molested by my cousin.
Yeah.
And that happened like 10 odd years before I even told them. She also helped me with that process and going through that and dealing with that. So it's like, yeah, not everything was great, but also not everything was necessarily bad. Yeah. But part of me kind of enjoyed my little double life that I had. You know what I mean? Even though
it's so fun.
Like, it was like very suppressing.
Yeah.
I still was, at the end of the day, was like, I'm going to enjoy my life and I'm not going to suppress who I am as a person because these other bitches around me can't get with the fucking program.
Yeah.
And make me feel like that I'm less, because I never felt like I was less than.
Yeah.
If anything, I was battling with the voices in my head that was trying to tell me that I was less than. And I was like, bitch,
I'm not.
Check the material. You know what I mean?
You're like, bitch, what is wrong with you? Talking to yourself.
Exactly. Like, what is going on here? But it was voices from other people, like my dad, like my grandfather, like, all of these people that are telling me that, it's wrong to be gay because of their own fears and projections. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was shit, I had a boyfriend in high school that my parents didn't know about. I was sneaking out seeing guys. I was messaging guys on Grindr. I was talking to guys on Skype and Uber. My parents never found out about any of this shit.
That's
none
funny.
of it.
I don't know. I feel like if I had a different experience outside of my gay identity, then I would have maybe had a little bit more of an open experience with my my gayness. But I think
rather than like learning it like now.
Exactly. Because I feel like I didn't even feel like attractive, or I didn't think about it. Like I was like so anti anything sex or dating like for so long, up until basically like.
Is it because of the Catholic Church?
I think it's because of the Catholic Church. I think it's also because I was like bigger and I was insecure. So I was like, I am not even trying to be looked at in any way. Like I don't.
Fear of rejection.
Yes, I think I was scared of being rejected. And that's why I think it took so long for me to like come out, because I didn't have to face rejection for so long because I was sheltered. I was given like, I mean, I could just stay home.
Makes sense.
I didn't have to
let me
go
just
home.
say that. It makes sense.
I didn't have to go home and like, nobody was like asking me questions or like being like, hey, like, do you like boys and all that shit?
I had my dad go through my phone one time. Really? My dad asked to use my phone. And went through my phone and found like messages, or he found like a new Instagram that I made. Bitch, invasion of privacy was my childhood.
I was given like full like nobody looked at me and was like,
you ugly.
Except there's one person, which is Rebecca, which was my uncle's ex-girlfriend from all they have kids and everything. But she asked me, when I was like in fifth grade. She knew. She was an ally. I feel like she could, she's a little bi.
You know who kind of knew? My mom's mom. She kind of knew. And she was always like,
Gay girl.
telling my like mom and shit like that. Like, if he want to play with dolls, let him play with dolls. You know what I mean? So she was one person, one of the first people that knew for me too.
And even like for other people in my life, somebody like my mom, I think it was almost of like, my mom is such a like, she just lets people be. Like, she doesn't question why people are a certain way. So even if she saw me like, girl, we used to be up in the watching What Not to Wear, all the TLC
Say Yes to the Dress.
We were watching all that Bad Girls Club together. Bad like, she just liked it.
I said it.
That was... But she didn't question it because she just thought like, that's just, he likes that. It doesn't mean that
it's like, for me, I was not watching any of that shit with my parents. If anything, I was like, I had the news on one channel and then I was watching Bad Girls Club on the other. As soon as I would hear first steps, last. Or like with Drag Race too, I would have Drag Race on, and then I would just hit last, and then it'd go back to the news. My parents was always like, "Damn, you love the news.
You have the straightest shit on one, the gayest show on the Drag Race logo TV version."
The logo. No, I literally was watching Drag Race back in logo, which is also funny. I feel like we talk about drag every single episode. It's like no matter what it is, we always relate it back to drag.
Obsessed with drag.
Well, so if y'all don't like drag, I'm sorry. This probably is not the podcast for you. But if you really want to get educated on drag and just fucking enjoy your damn life, join us.
Yeah,
we'd love to have you.
Because I think drag has been such a big part of the gay community for so freaking long.
Exactly.
It's an expression of our identity.
It's like the ultimate expression. You know what I mean? Like those times where I would be like in my room with my towel on my head, flipping around, or I have like, you know how Lexi Love was talking about her like having her sheet on her head and having the train? Bitch, I used to do the same shit. Have my sheet on my head, going down the rope, Shania and I. Having little fashion shows and shit like that. I used to wear her clothes. You know what I mean? Like, but I did it in secrecy and privacy. You know what I mean? And I think that's also why my brain works like so detail like now. Like, cause bitch, me living a double life had me listening to people's footsteps, had me deleting my history, had me thinking, of my A plan, B plan, C plan, D plan, all of the things. Like an out plan. If I was doing anything gay, I was like, what's my out plan? I was always like looking at my phone to make sure I didn't accidentally butt dial like anybody, like all of the shit. All of the shit.
And I feel like a lot of people have an experience where they do kind of have to like control how they behave around other people and be so aware that I feel like that's why gay people are so adaptable, or were, I don't know, but these new kids are different. The new kids are different.
It's because they don't have to go through any of the stuff that we went through. And even the older gays that's before us, they had to go through even more violent aspects. I've never encountered violence when it comes to like my gayness, and I hope I never do. Actually, bitch, I won't, because I wish a bitch would fuck with me. But at the end of the day, they didn't have to go through any of that stuff in the same way that we have. Yeah.
Whereas for us, I feel like when we were very young, it was almost like, you know, we grew up in the era of making fun of things. And I feel like there was like a lot of comedy still about it, kind of like making fun of being gay.
Hoping 4th year's a charm.
On my way to the bag. Come up.
But it was also not like...
Here he is, the first homosexual on British television. It's Andrew. Obviously, we can't reveal his surname or where he's from for security reasons, but you're all right there, Andrew. And don't talk, please, because we'll be taken straight off the air. And well, the atmosphere is really quite electric here now, but he is beginning to look at me, so we'll have to stop that just there and get him back to his handler.
Like a lot of people knew a gay person, so it was more personal, and they were more. What is that word? Tolerant.
Yeah.
Because remember the campaigns when we were younger? Yeah. Tolerance. Not. I was like, bitch, why?
I didn't know that. Was that a down south thing?
They were like, learn to tolerate. I'm like, tolerate?
Oh, did not. I would have been like, bitch, how dare you?
Love. Yeah. And then towards the end of our childhood, or like us becoming young adults, it was like, celebrate the gays, bitch. Yeah. Pride is everywhere. Target loves pride.
You know, and I'm also very grateful for the teachers that I had growing up, because I did have teachers that they never like called me gay, except for this one teacher. And I'll get to that in a moment. But I never really had like teachers that like outwardly called me gay, but I can tell that they knew that I was different and that I was gay. Yep. Like I had one teacher that would call me Sunshine all the time. Granted, it's because I have a sunshine personality, and also I'm a Leo, so I am the fucking sun, bitch.
It would be something that she called you rainbows. Yeah. Okay, Skittles.
What's up, Skittles? But her, and then I've had other teachers that just I could tell, and how they treated me, they uplifted that rather than trying to necessarily suppress that. Except for this one fucking science teacher that I had the nerve to call my dad my dad, or call the house, talking about like I only have girlfriends like in class, and that I'm a little flamboyant and get it. And it was always the black teachers too, which pisses me the fuck off, and is why I had so much like hatred towards the black community a good portion of my life. Yeah, but when I moved to Atlanta, I had to really break down a lot of those feelings and ideologies and biases that I had towards the black community and rewire that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And yeah, she fucking called my house telling my dad, and then I didn't have to have a fucking conversation with my dad. And then I think I also just became just like a person that was able to talk their way out of anything. Because I've had a conversation with my dad about, because one time another teacher called about me getting into a fight with a kid named Tony, and it's because him and I was like going back and forth via text message, but he wasn't out. And he didn't, nobody knew he was gay or even close to being gay, none of that. And he was like the guy that everybody wanted. And he was texting me on the low when we was outside of school. And then he would flirt with me a little bit in school, but it was one day that it got out of control. Because it was like the girl that I kind of liked, that he also liked, and me and him were all in the hallway. And I don't know how the fight got erupted, but we got into a fight in the hallway. And we all had to go to the principal's office. And then she started spreading shit around, talking about that he beat me up, which one, he did not beat me up. But also two, that I was like coming on to him. And it just created a whole craziness. And I'm like, bitch, if only y'all saw the fucking text messages. You had the text messages, bitch.
But you were the bigger person. You're like, I'm gonna delete I'm not gonna share those.
Well, the thing is, I didn't have a lot of the messages because I was also deleting them like periodically. It goes back to retrace, making sure that ain't no evidence. Yeah. I'm Hannah Montana, bitch. But a lot of those experiences for me were traumatic. And I didn't realize they were necessarily traumatic until I got older. Yeah. And then when I really started to express my gayness and my queerness, like in my current life, you know what I mean?
I want to go back to something you said earlier.
What?
About how you said that it was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Like having like that secret double life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And because I agree. Because I was...
Nobody was in your business.
You don't have to explain
You didn't have to explain nothing.
Because it was such a... Because then when you do come out as gay, then it becomes such a big fucking part of your identity.
Yeah.
That's like what some people see you as almost first. And it's fucking annoying. It's like... Maybe that's why these men stay DL. They're like, I'm gonna live a normal life and it's gonna stay
because you're known as the gay friend or the gay guy and it's just like, bitch, I'm so much more than just me being gay. And I think that's also part of why even in today's episode we're encompassing the embodiment of gayness as well. Because I feel like that's what people kind of only see.
Yeah.
And then that's why we just become gay to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I also feel that also plays a role in the hypersexuality in the gay community, especially when like people first come to terms with their sexuality. I feel like it's a very common story that we hear that people come out, they become hypersexualized or become hypersexual, and then that becomes such a big part of their identity. Yeah, because it's what people like kind of throw onto you. Yeah, you know what I mean? And that's not everything you are. Yeah, it's just... It comes with other characteristics because when you are accepting of that part of yourself, you accept yourself to be so many other things. Yeah. Like feminine, really flamboyant, colorful, like you can be whatever.
And I feel like me accepting my gayness also helped me accept my blackness, also helped me accept my feminineness, helped me accept my assertiveness. Like it helped me accept so many aspects of myself because I was no longer chaining myself to what the fuck society gave a fuck about me. Because at that point, you're like, society, what you have to say.
DGAF. I don't give a fuck. Period.
And that's going with everything. You know what I mean? So then it made me really just sit with myself and look within and be like, okay, this is you. This is you. And it's so much more to you outside of just being gay. It's just a part of you. You need to accept that first so that you can then continue on to accept and acknowledge everything else within. Because if you're not acknowledging one part, which is you being gay and is a huge part of who you are, you're probably not acknowledging a lot of things about who you are as a person.
So many great things that could be hiding within you because you're not allowing yourself to be an open person.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because I feel the same way. Like, I feel like I had so many struggles with other parts of my life that because I came out and accepted my sexuality and was able to be myself, I was able to come to terms with, like, even when it comes with like how I feel about like myself physically, like my insecurities, even though it's something I still work on, like I learned to love myself and I saw myself as attractive and I felt like I deserved love. Whereas for a while I felt like I had to like become a certain version of myself before I was lovable.
You know, that makes sense.
You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of people might feel like that, and don't hold yourself back. There's nobody holding you back but yourself.
And I absolutely love that. And we've talked so much about what we thought of gayness before and what being gay was to us and how we grew up. And obviously y'all can see we had kind of two different experiences when it comes to that, but also very similar in a lot of ways as well. But now, what is it that we think present day? So now that we hold queerness with more intention, how does it shape the way that we love, relate, create, and protect ourselves? Which is kind of what we were just getting into just now. So what do you think? How is it that it shapes us now? What do you feel about being gay that's different before? And what's your intentionality around it now?
I feel like the
drag queens.
Drag queens. Yeah. Motherfucking drag queens.
Yeah.
I feel like before, it almost feels like it's just around me. Like, I don't feel like it is like something that I have to think about as much anymore because I'm living my life.
Sometimes I'll be forgetting that I'm gay.
Yeah. Even though we're together all the time.
Even though, but I'm like, oh, me? Gay? No.
Not even the TikTok filter. They said straight.
TikTok filter said I was straight.
Both of us. We straight. We're in a straight relationship.
Oof. What's up?
Okay, daddy. Oh, I'm straight, sorry. But yeah, I just feel like it just kind of, it's everything in my life has a little bit of gay because now like I can just talk how I want. I walk how the fuck I want. I dress how I want. Yeah, my little gay walk. Yeah, I have been more aware. I was like, I'll be walking like I got like
jockey your trunk.
Yeah, like why am I swinging my ass like that? But anyways, it's everywhere now.
Yeah,
and because it's everywhere, it's not as like relevant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Specifically,
it's like not a hyper focus in the same way that when I was playing Hannah Montana, I had to focus on every aspect of my life to make sure I was, even when I was going to restaurants with like the boyfriend that I had when I was in high school, I would scope out the restaurant to make sure that wasn't nobody that looked familiar that may know my dad, because my dad know a lot of people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and even like, for example, we have Drag Race tonight. It just becomes a part of like life. Like Drag Race to the gays is like sports. Some gays,
definitely
like sports, or like the way we dress. It's just now we just shop in a way that we're not thinking, is that too gay? No, we're just like, we like it. It looks good on me.
I shop in the women's section sometimes.
I wish I fit in the women's section. I did back in the day for a little bit. I tried it. It worked for a little bit. But
I just love like some women's shirts, some women's pants. I like a lot of my pants, especially when I was like managing hotels. A lot of my pants came from the women's sections, and people loved my pants.
Like that's the thing, is like because gay men allow themselves to explore their feminine side. Like we see women's clothes and we're like, that is so much cuter. All this man's clothes is so boxy and meant to like keep you kind of looking basic. Yeah. Because expressing yourself is gay.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think like, especially with me reading The Artist's Way right now, I think that people make it as if like being gay is bad, because being gay is the ultimate level of expression and creativity, because we're not bounding ourselves to masculine, feminine. We're not bounding ourselves to good or bad, or, you know, all of these different things that society says that you should do or should act like. Because I know a big thing for me now that's different than what it was before is that I understand that there is a difference. I understand now that everybody embodies masculine and feminine energy, and I can utilize that in any which way that I do. Like, I feel like when I'm more assertive, I feel a little bit more feminine than I do masculine. You know what I mean? And I feel like femininity gives me a level of empowerment that I feel like masculinity doesn't necessarily do. Same thing with femininity. It gives a certain level of creativity that I feel like now reading The Artist's Way and why they don't want us to express creativity, because creativity is a gift from God. And then I can understand that masculinity can get me, you know, business stuff, or help me be more of a visionary, or, you know, command a space in a certain type of way. You know what I mean? And we can play off that masculine and feminine energy, and we are not just 100% one, 100% the other, or even 50-50. You know what I mean?
Depends on who you are and what situation you're in. And I think that's such a gift about being gay, is like, especially at the time, people around our age, how we grew up, is that it gave us so many life skills. Just of like our perception, our ability to like adapt, our ability to understand other people. I feel like gay people are very empathetic,
and that's why
all of them. Some of them.
And that's why I feel like a lot of straight people be jealous sometimes. I'm like, it ain't my fault. Bitch, if you went through half the shit that I went through, then you might have come out the same or similar. But you ain't go through half the shit. You didn't have to live through a world where you had to act a certain type of way. Women can say that, but also it's still not the same. It's not the same.
Going back, this is going to be a little bit about the past, but even like for somebody like me, like that I didn't come out until so much later, because I was trying to hide myself, I put myself through so many situations that could have ended up so much worse, that were dangerous, because I wasn't comfortable. And it was basically like, I would go on like Craigslist, which is like, I feel like I did that right at the time that it ended, because before me, apparently that's a big thing. Like before Grindr, people used to go on Craigslist to meet people. And that's how I had my first gay experiences, was through fucking Craigslist. Like Monet Exchange kind of talks about it too. And it was like, I remember like going and meeting this guy that was like, I was in high school and he was probably like in his 50s, but he had to use a picture from when he was like in his 20s or something.
And I mean, I feel like a lot of gay people have that experience, unfortunately. Like even my mom's he got HIV because he got kicked out of his house, and then he had to go live with this man, and that's how he ended up contracting it. And it was a much older man than him, and unfortunately, a lot of gay people go through that. Fortunately for me, like, even though I did get kicked out of my dad's house, I had a family that I could go to. That it was crazy because ever since middle school, she was always like, if you ever need anything, like she knew
when you come out.
But she was like, if you ever need anything, you always have a place with me.
Yeah.
And when the time came, I said, is that offer still up for grabs? And it was years later. And it was.
Yeah.
And so I'm grateful for me that I didn't have to necessarily go through a lot of those crazy experiences, because then by the time I moved to Atlanta, I was out. I was living my life. I had a little bit of discernment when it came to guys, because I've talked to a lot of guys by that point. You know what I mean? Like,
and still on the same topic, I feel like that lifestyle of having to be closeted, it almost like people would come to us and be real because they felt like they could be real with us, because they saw that we were accepting, we were different, like we were a little
and we're
different.
also being real with ourselves, or at least to the level to perceive that we're being real with ourselves.
And it like allowed me to see like men in a different way, because I was also seeing these men that were like closeted and like living these double lives, and were still sneaky and kind of just terrible to women. And then also women would show how open and loving they are, because like women would be the ones that were like, hey, you can feel comfortable with me. Even when you couldn't come out, like you had your best friend growing up that was that person for you. I had a few people like,
and she held that secret for her. And people used to ask her all the time. She'd be like, do I look like Nasir's keeper? Go ask him. You know what I mean? And so like she kept that secret for a while. She's a real one, Courtney. Yeah. We're still friends to this day, but friends since middle school. And she was like the first person I've ever told that I was gay. And she was the first person that I told about being molested to my cousin, by my cousin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so she's been there since day one.
Yeah. But I feel like
you need those people in your lives. I really feel like you do.
And that's why it's like at the end of the day, like regardless of everything, I could have came out earlier. We could have lived like the gay kids live now. Like I'm grateful for what we had, and I'm also very grateful for what the kids have nowadays. Or even
though y'all could go through a little bit, go through a little bit. Help y'all out.
But it's like
I'm just kidding. No. Nobody should have to like. No. Even when it comes to like my sisters, like all of like my sisters on my dad's side, there's 3 of them. They are never going to go through half the shit that I did. Yeah. Because I had to go through the court system when it came to custody with my dad and my mom. I had to go through the parents talking shit about each other, like, all of those things. And I even had to explain to my parents, like, they're the way that they are because they didn't have to go through half the shit that I had to go through. Yeah. By the time I got to my dad's house, I was already super cautious and super aware of myself and my surroundings. Yeah. That like I was pretty easy as a child. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I feel like kids nowadays can just be themselves. And if they are gay, they're even if they don't have it at home,
which comes with a little craziness.
Yeah. And even though they might not have it at home directly, I feel like it is more common in the media now and through culture that being gay is more acceptable. Yeah. Even though it's getting a little weird with, especially the United States, with the politics and the right wing and all that shit, it is a little weird right now. And it feels like we're taking a few steps back. But at the end of the day, like I feel like that's not representative of how the people feel. Yeah. Overall, it's more so how these dumbasses running the country feel.
And I don't give a You hear that? I don't give a I ain't never gave a I ain't never really did. Because at the end of the day, I know who I am. I know how I live my life. And nobody can tell me differently about myself. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And especially when it comes to, why the fuck should I give a fuck about what a MAGA has to say?
A maggot.
Why? A maggot, exactly. Like, why the fuck? I don't care. I don't give a fuck. No. Say what you gotta say. As long as you ain't touching me, I don't give a fuck. Say whatever you gotta say, bitch.
Yeah,
because one thing about it is that my skin is obviously thicker than yours. Mm-hmm. And I'm not focused on what the fuck y'all are doing, but apparently we're on your radar so fucking much. Yeah. So waste your time, waste your energy on somebody that's not even checking for you, boo.
Like, why are you so worried about how other people live?
I don't get it, and I never got it.
It makes them uncomfortable because it makes them look themselves.
Huh?
It makes them uncomfortable because it makes them look at themselves and be like, huh, maybe I'm a little gay. And it's like, oh, you probably are. It's
I
okay.
watched like this video the other day, and they were saying some planet is moving into something, and it's like everybody about to get gay. If y'all like gay, everybody about to get gay.
Really?
Yeah.
I see that. I feel like we've been preparing for that.
which I want to tell this quick story real quick.
Go ahead.
Because I feel like I've been saying like gay is day. Like,
oh yeah, gay is day.
Half the episode. But so where that comes from is another traumatic experience. Because my friend, like, we were all like in her house, and we were like in her closet, blasting music. Nobody was home, nothing. We're trying on heels and stuff, and then she also happened to have this bed that have like those poles on like on the corners.
You was pole dancing
for like a little canopy little situation, and I'm like with her heels on this like pole, swinging around. Listen, I don't know what we're listening to, but I was getting to him. I'm on the pole. All of a sudden, her door swing open. It's her Jamaican ass mom talking about gay is there, gay is there. Wait, get out of my house, get out of my house, gay is there.
That's hilarious.
And it was funny because was also in the closet too, like putting on heels, about to do the same thing as me.
Literally,
and she never saw him. She never saw him because he just hid in the closet. And I just like ran out of the house. I was like, I'm out, and I like ran to my house because she was like diagonal from me.
That's crazy
in the neighborhood. But it was wild. Yeah. It was like, imagine the door just slam open. I'm sitting there on the pole, like it was wild. It
was just so gay. How the girls, you could be with the girls, and they just allowed you to express your feelings. Even before they didn't even like. I had so many girl best friends growing up that treated me
didn't even
like,
question it.
No question it. They were just like, we're friends.
Yeah.
Want me to do your makeup? Sure.
Exactly.
Do your nails? Yes. Like it didn't matter. You know, it was just
totally
something I liked.
I definitely agree. So, with being gay now, is there anything that's vastly different from you, perspective-wise, than what it was before? Or do you just feel like that being gay has, like, those early stages has helped you to become the person that you are today?
I think it was like a slow progression, because I remember as a kid, like literally thinking like this is a sin at some point. It's like I have to stop. I have to be able to get over this. And then as I got older, like into high school age, my school had a lot of like LGBTQ people. Yeah. We had a trans girl running for prom because she was so popular.
Oh yeah,
and they made her run for prom king.
Yeah,
Jennifer King.
No, not Jennifer.
Shout out Jennifer King if you're out there. But
which I was like one of the first openly gay people in my school, and I actually helped open up a gay straight alliance. Yeah, like in my school too.
Yeah,
and
we had one of those,
and it was like we did have like closeted people that now they're out. But I was like, my radar was always on 10 because every single person that I was like, you gay.
Yeah, you feel it. Y'all look at each other, walking around high school, looking at each other like, we know. We all know.
Exactly. No, for real though. And I'm like, I'll let you figure out yourself and, get to your terms, but yeah.
Yeah.
But
and then I feel like I said, those people allowed me to at least be like, from an outside perspective, be like, I think being gay, like, we should protect these people. Like, that. Why are we like talking about people like this? Like, let's give people fucking equal rights for marriage. And I became that person.
Yeah.
And then once I came out in college, it just became like just a part of my life that I don't even like kind of pay attention so much to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And I love that even now, like, kids have the support of their family and parents now. Because even when I was a dancer, I went to this dance studio after like I graduated, and I paid for it on my own and stuff because my dad wouldn't pay for that kind of stuff for me. But when I was in the dance studio, was this one other kid there, and he was gay as hell. But he didn't really he didn't really know that at the time. He just thought he was like feminine. And then his mom came to me one time and was like, how do I let him know that it's okay, like, and I'm here for him? And I was like, he'll come to you when he's ready. It just continue to love him and embrace him in the way that you do, and when he's ready, he will come to you. Because at the end of the day, our sexuality is a personal journey. It goes back to what we talked about in the very beginning of this. Is that it's a personal journey, a personal feeling, and it has really nothing to do with anybody else. And that's what I told her. And just wait and he'll come to you. Don't be selfish. Just because you want him to come out just so that you have a little gay son that you can accessorize. I know what you're trying to do here, boo. But let him figure it out for himself. You know what I mean?
And I agree with that. I do. But do you think to a certain extent, like, not being honest with yourself could affect other people? Like, if you're dating women and having children,
but he
and
wasn't
starting a
dating
family.
women.
But what I'm saying is because it's like it is a personal journey. As long it is, but it's like I feel like you do have to come to terms with like what you're doing to other people too. Yeah. Because you could be starting a family or be in a relationship with somebody and make them fall in love with you and plan out their life with you for you just to figure out at 50 that you are gay or you want to transition. It's like,
I agree. Yeah.
It's a disservice to other people at the same time.
Yeah, I definitely do agree with that. And I mean, being a person that did date a lot of girls, and I mean, so did you. I definitely see how it has affected them, but also I think it becomes, in our early stages, I feel like a lot of that is developmental, getting to know yourself. I don't really think much is really wrong outside of like deliberate hate and murder. That kind of stuff is wrong when you're in your developmental years. But when you're dragging this shit out and now you're getting married, now you're having kids, but then guys on the street, in the clubs or in hotels or sneaking around and stuff like that, that's when it does become an issue, because at this point morally what you're doing, and you're just choosing to continue to act in this way because you're comfortable with the life that you live and you don't want to disrupt that. And I think that's when it does become an issue. For sure. And I think there are quite a few men out there, a lot of DL men out there that do that because they don't want to have to face society. They don't want to have to face their families. They don't want to have to face their friends, because it's a lot to talk about. But yeah, so we talked a lot about what being gay is in the present and also what it was in the past in our childhood, and how it's changed us as people today. But going into the future, as we imagine our queer selves in the future, what do we fear losing and what do we hope becomes possible?
I not fear, but I'm aware that we might lose things like marriage rights for a little bit or protection in certain places. But I think that's just going to be temporary because, like I said earlier, it's like we take a few steps, 2 steps back, and then we take 10 steps forward after. You know what I mean? Like we're always going to progress forward. But I think what I hope we gain and what we do gain is that we allow ourselves to exist and be out and proud like we have been for the last few years, regardless of what these big institutions do, and that we do work together to keep ourselves safe because we do have the numbers and we do have the brilliant minds and we do have the culture to uphold each other and protect us through times like this that I feel like are coming in some areas. Yeah,
I love them.
How about you?
I don't necessarily, I mean, part of what you said when it comes to like losing rights and things like that, I don't necessarily fear because I'm still going to maneuver throughout this world the way I need to and call it a day. But what I do hope is that globally it does become more accepting, because I want to be able to go to places like African countries and go to Middle Eastern countries and not necessarily feel like that I have to code switch or I have to watch out for myself because these people hate me. You know what I mean?
And they don't even know you.
And don't even know me. You know what I mean? And so I would say that's really the only thing that I hope does come into fruition.
Do you think that the way that the world is progressing, even like technologically and like with everything we've talked about in other episodes, social media, everything the way it is, do you think those things are something that are becoming true like in the near future? Do you think this is coming like 100 years, like the globalization of accepting gayness?
I don't know, because every place in every country has its one different religions, which religion is the main contributor to homophobia. And everybody has their different biases and shit like that. That maybe I don't know. Because also technology adoption isn't the same in every country. I mean, shit. Look here in Mexico, they don't have the same type of even technology that we even have in the U.S. Do they have technology? Don't get me wrong, yes. But the adoption of AI might be quite a few years after the adoption of AI within the U.S.
Yeah.
The adoption of AI has already been a thing in Japan and China.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Where it's not necessarily a huge thing in the United States. So globally, I think it's going to be well after I'm within this vessel. But may I observe it in another lifetime? Sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I don't think it'll be within our lifetime that it's full global. Like, I can go to the Middle East and, you know, pop my pussy on the ground. You know what I mean? Like,
we're gonna be doing this little dance back and forth, back and forth, back and forth for a long time. And RuPaul said it himself. He said, we're having a like when drag was at its peak, like 2016.
We're having a peak, but just know that the homophobia and transphobia will be back.
We'll be back.
And it'll be back. And guess what
10 years later.
Because they love to just weaponize divisiveness. They love to weaponize, you know, different groups of people so that it can distract from their actual agenda.
Yeah. And we don't have to worry because as a community, as individuals,
we're united, bitch.
We've always existed. Yeah. And just because you don't like us doesn't mean we're not going to exist. You're just not going to be able to admire our art and our beautiful personalities. You're just we're gonna have
the creations that we make, the expression that we give. Like, drag is phenomenal. Like, it is a phenomenal thing that's very unfortunate that a lot of people don't get to partake in it, observe it, be a part of it, because it just is so magical. It really is so magical. How you can take something that you're thinking up here when it comes to image, persona, voice, character, shows, all of the things that drag can do and be a part of, and make it into the real world. I think that's the amazing thing about being drag. Yeah. And being gay allows you that access because you're so open to the possibilities of what drag can offer.
Yeah. And it's like, if y'all can criminalize it, y'all can ban drag shows or whatever the fuck you want, guess what we're going to do? We're going to find a cute little hidden building. We're going to turn it into a nice little dance club, and it's going to be beautifully decorated.
We're still going to have a good time.
Good music, good drinks.
Y'all just not invited.
Y'all won't know.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we're still going to have a good time. You're just not invited.
Yeah.
You're just not invited. So with that being said, we're coming up to the end of today's episode. We talked about the past, present, and future when it comes to being gay and what we think about that and how that has changed over the years. So with all of that being said, would you delete or update being gay to your reality?
Delete those. Delete all those. Delete. Well, we can delete some. Yeah. But I feel like definitely update because of everything we've said. Like, what would we delete gayness? It's gonna change over time, and I don't think it's necessarily gonna change and like how you are as a gay person. It's gonna change on how you can express yourself. Yeah, and not because you want to, but because of safety. Yeah, because we want to keep thriving, and sometimes we just have to be a little bit more strategic with it. Yeah. You know what I mean? So we just need to update the way that. Just because we have to, you know, maybe be a little bit more careful does not mean that we're not amazing and that we shouldn't be on stages and that our art and our beautiful personalities shouldn't be admired. They should. Yeah. So I'm going to say update.
Yeah. And I would just say update. And that's really it. I think you've kind of there's no point of me just saying the same thing. Yeah. So I'll say update, and I really enjoyed today's episode and just kind of diving into who I was as a person, my evolution of identifying my queerness, and also same thing for you. Yeah. And I'm really excited to see what gay people can do, because I know that the more and more and more people are accepting of themselves, the more that they'll be able to create things within this world, and make experiences that everybody could enjoy. Yeah. And most of the time, you probably won't even realize that as a gay person. I'm sure there are hotels that you go to that you really like that are owned by gay people. There are brands that you wear that are owned by gay people, and you don't even know it or realize it. And it's just going to continue to be that. And I think gay people are going to make this world even better than what it already is.
As they already have.
Anything you want to say before we close out?
I kind of want to ask ChatGPT what they think gayness is going to be like in the future. Hey, Miss GPT. Hey, what do you think the future of gayness is in relation to the podcast that I was talking to you about?
That's such a powerful question, especially in the context of your podcast. where you're reflecting on how reality feels as it evolves. So in that lens, I think the future of gayness isn't just about orientation or visibility. It's about how queerness reshapes the entire way we imagine relationships, creativity, power, and care. Not just coming out, but reimagining what we're coming into. Your podcast format invites that kind of thinking. Like, what happens when gayness is no longer framed as resistance, but as normalcy with depth? Or when intimacy isn't measured by coupledom, but by chosen kinship and fluid connection? Or when aging as a queer person means not shrinking into invisibility, but expanding into legacy? I think your show can explore those quiet but radical shifts. How gayness might move from survival into self-designed meaning. What does being gay mean when we're no longer trying to prove we exist? What kind of future are you imagining for that next conversation? Quiet, disruption, something softer?
All right. She was like, bitch, I have a
She was like, I've been waiting for you to ask me this question all motherfucking week.
That was hilarious.
No, but I think that's really good. And I think that we should try to incorporate, because I mean, that's also kind of part of the podcast too, is blending, reality, but also technology. Blending the physical with the AI and digital. So I think that we should like periodically through. But I think part of, within the future of it, AI can definitely be a great contributor to that part of the conversation. But I appreciate you guys. Well, we appreciate you guys so much for being a part of today's episode. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you like this video and also leave us a review either here on Spotify or on YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, drop us a comment and let us know what you thought about today's episode and how the little gays have affected your life. And let's continue to experience reality together.
And more drag queens.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Experience Reality with Jorge and Nasir. For more episodes, subscribe to Experience Reality on YouTube and your favorite podcast platform, and follow us on social media, Experience Reality Pod. Got questions, feedback, or ideas? Drop us a message and email us at experiencerealitypod@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. And as always, keep exploring, keep questioning, and experience reality.
Are you gay?
Are you gay?
Are you gay?
Yes, you're gay. Not according to that TikTok.
Apparently not.
2 straight men here.
Are you gay? Yes, you're gay.
Are you excited for the gay bar tonight?
What gay bar are we going to?
Are we not going to the gay bar no more?
Oh, I totally forgot.
So no.
I think I just more so forgot about it because I'm like, it depends on how I feel. I mean, you know that. Same thing with you. Like, I feel like you're like, it depends on how I feel. But
I guess it is a very interesting that we are like talking about this on the day that we're planning to go to gay bar, which is not something we always do. But I feel like we have been doing it more recently.
And also, it's Drag Race night. All Stars is out. We already watched the first episode of All Stars, and then we have the second episode of All Stars that we're going to watch tonight.
That's crazy. Yeah, because it's like a gay day. Like, it's Friday, Drag Race is back on. We might go to the gay bar.
Yeah. It's crazy because we almost ended it at, actually, we're about to end it at 1 minute and 11, 1 hour and 11 minutes.
Protected